I don't mean polished and like perfect, but like there wasn't proper strategy behind it. I wasn't really understanding what that platform was for. I was just hoping that I was going to go viral and just like not willing to put the work in.
Welcome to the LMF Network podcast. My name is Sonya Barlow, the host, CEO and founder. This podcast is all about building our careers and confidence with a mission to build the careers and confidence of 25,000 people by 2025 through mentoring, masterclasses and meaningful connections. For us, this podcast is about sharing stories, highlighting incredible figures, learning about their career journeys, how they overcome failure, rejection and imposter syndrome, what we can do to build our confidence, be our biggest cheerleaders and really define as well as achieve our version of success.
And today we have Preiti in the studio with us. Preiti, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you. You travelled all the way from Birmingham for this. We're based in London. All the way from Birmingham. It's far.
Yeah.
I can get to like sometimes, Amsterdam quicker than I can to Birmingham at times.
Yeah, but you can also take an hour to get across London.
Yeah, 100%. That's why you just go abroad.
Yeah.
That's why people in the UK don't travel the UK, because it's easier to go somewhere else.
To be fair, I've started traveling the UK a lot more since pandemic, so I've enjoyed it a lot.
And where's your favourite place been?
Oh, that's difficult. I think one place that I would like highlight as a really brilliant hidden gem was Beverley. It's in East Riding of Yorkshire. It's like a market cathedral town. I can't remember which one it is, but it's got a beautiful cathedral, amazing, just like high street, a lot of character, people are absolutely lovely. And there's actually a pub that really enforces you to take away all your tech and actually just have conversations with people.
That's important, right?
Yeah.
And conversations is one reason as to why we're here. I know that you love traveling and we'll get onto that in just a second. But for the audience who don't know you as much as I do, can you give us a brief overview as to who you are, what you do, and can you tell us tell us about your career journey? It's fine.
I started off with like in school doing quite well until I got to secondary school and somehow was not able to tick the boxes that was needed. So I started to see like a decline in my grades and basically failed college and was told I would never go to uni. And that was like a big spur for me to be like, no, you're wrong and I'm going to get there. So a big thing that I've learned in my life is that even though it might not seem that you can get to that place, there's always a different way to go. So I went and then we did a foundation course and then I went to uni finally and ended up doing my master's. So when I graduated, I had a degree in visual communication, specifically graphic design, which I've never used. And then also I did my master's in design management. So then I started in the world of work thinking I'm going to be a manager straight away, I'm going to make all that money, and it doesn't work that way. So I started off at a company on like the help desk, like customer service, and as much as that like wasn't where I thought my career would start off, it was actually the best place for me to be. I learned so much about how businesses work, how to deal with like manage people, not just like me managing people in terms of like having people that report to me, but actually to manage like your relationships with people. Because a lot of it, there's doing the work and then there's getting along with people to be able to make sure that it's not a hostile environment, stay out of like as much as you can, like work politics. That started off in that help desk. And then within that business, I was really fortunate. There was so many opportunities where I just said yes. I just took the leap. So I was offered a secondment at a hair and beauty company. And I literally moved within a week from living in Birmingham with my mom. And then I was suddenly living in a hotel for like a week at this place, Bracknell, which is like near Reading. And I was working for this company, being seconded, working in marketing, which was an amazing step for me. And then within that company, I did a few more different roles back and forth. And then ultimately I got the travel itch and I was like, this is not going away. Like I need to go. And I decided I was going to do 6 months. Then it came to 3 months because I was scared. And then it was like, oh, okay, I'll just get on the plane and see what happens. But I left the company knowing that hopefully one day I'd go back. So I did my travel around Asia solo, 6 months. I like Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, so on and so forth, like just so many places. And it was, the typical cliche of like, I found myself. But you find
Did
that...
you have like an Eat, Pray, Love moment?
A bit.
Have you watched Eat, Pray,
yeah,
Love?
I have.
Okay,
Massive,
just
yeah,
sometimes
of course,
I make that reference and people are like, we've never watched Eat, Pray, Love, and it just shows my age. But
no, I definitely watched it.
Yeah, it was one of those first moments or movies where I was like,
yeah.
okay.
So I actually had my Eat, Pray, Love moment before the big travel. So for my master's, I knew a friend who was actually, she's Indonesian, and she was going back to Indonesia after the course, and she was like, oh yeah, just come visit. And I'm like, yeah, that's what people say. She's like, no, genuinely come visit. And she's like one of my best friends. So I went to visit, and yeah, she took me all over Indonesia, the mainland Java, and then to Bali, which really bad that I didn't know that Bali was in Indonesia until then. But it opened up my eyes to the fact that there's a whole world. So in Bali, we went to see the medicine man.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sadly, he died, the one from the film that's, portrayed in the film. But his son continues on. So I met his son. He read my palm. It was so I literally had the Eat, Pray, Love moment.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't even know that. I was just like...
yeah.
I was just quoting it because it's like one of the only things I know how to quote.
It's quite funny. But like until you've said it, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually have that.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, so then you had your Eat, Pray, Love moment, which is great. You also had your travel abroad. You came back and then you started working in ops. So
I didn't go straight into ops. Actually, I fumbled my way into e-commerce. Actually, I can say that confidently now because now I know what I'm doing. But I saw a job in e-commerce. It was a digital project manager role. So it's kind of similar to what I was doing before. And it was a very small business. And that was good for me actually, because it meant that I could see end to end what was going on. And I worked quite closely with the CEO at the time and built a business case to say, okay, I can see there's areas in the business that can be improved. These are some of my ideas. This is where my skills can align to that. And yeah, said like, this is the role that I want. So within like 18 months, I had like 2 promotions, 2 pay rises. And by the end, I was a client services and operations director. And that was great. I had this title and then it didn't go so well and I won't go too much into it. But it taught me, firstly, you can kind of blag through interviews, but as long as you have the key skills, like transferable skills, and you're willing to put in the work when you get in there, because e-commerce was something that I didn't really fully understand. Now I do. And tech was something that I needed to learn about every day and just be open and honest with like developers and team members, just to ask questions like, what is this? How does this work? What are we even talking about? And they were so honest and open with me and kind to just explain it. So then by the time I left that business, I understood it a lot more, but also taught me that even progressing the ladder, you can go up and then go down.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Or you can go sideways. So I kind of went sideways and that's fine. It also taught me that you kind of have to stick true to your values. So in that situation, there was an incident that happened that just didn't stay true. Like it wasn't true to like my values and what I was hoping to do. So as much as the title and the money and whatever was like, yeah, okay, I've got here now. Actually, I realized that wasn't my goal.
Yeah.
And I realigned on that.
You are a millennial.
Yes.
But absolutely. But the recent stats tell us that even Gen Z, so the talent coming into the workforce, 80% of them are happy to take a pay cut if the business they work with aligns with their values, their social needs, social good, and what they find to be very important in the day-to-day world. And I too am not a Gen Z. I'm a millennial. And I think just for me also, when I went to the workforce, I was like, wait, hold on. There's certain things I fundamentally don't agree with. There's things that you're doing behind that you shouldn't be doing. Like, I remember I worked at this one recruitment firm, who I would not name, but I don't rate them.
We've all got one of those.
Yeah, because I didn't have a great experience, right? Maybe they're good to other people and whatever. But anyways, I worked there for a placement. And this was, 5 years ago. It's not even that long ago. And a job role came in and my manager was like, okay, so this job role is perfect for a white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, so go on Facebook, because at that point it was Facebook and Instagram basically, and find who these candidates are, check their social profiles and see what they look like. Because the kind of client that we're working with, they want their, this particular kind of job role to be, to look and feel a certain way. And I was like, that's such a weird thing to say. But at the same time, they'd be like, oh, people on the trading desks. Oh, you know what? Make sure they're not from top 10 universities and make sure on their CV they do sports, because people who do sports and didn't go to top 10 universities, well, they're better as traders. Like that's the kind of conversations we'd have in the workplace. Yeah. And I found it really weird. And eventually I was like, wait, hold on. If I stay here long enough, I'm going to be like you all. And I'm not going to do that to myself because it doesn't align my values. Yeah. And I think that's where a big part of confidence comes in.
Yeah.
it's confidence in knowing yourself, knowing what your boundaries are, setting limitations, but also knowing, and I love what you said, you fumbled your way into things, knowing that even if you fumble your way into things, you can figure it out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not rocket science. Like rocket science is actually rocket science, right?
You can figure that one out as well.
We're just trying to build a career here, like have a job.
Yeah.
And the skills are very same or similar.
Yeah, definitely a lot of transferable skills that everyone has. It's just knowing that that is your key selling point. You know, I don't know how to be a developer, and I can talk a little bit about APIs and all these sort of things. And to be fair, I haven't been in it for a while, so I forget them quite quickly. But being honest and having people skills and saying to people like, I don't quite understand what we're building here, and they explain it to me, and I'm like, cool, now I know.
I mean, you say it to me all the time. You say it to me all the time, and then I have to go back and figure out what it is I'm building, but it's really good to have that sounding board. And the way that we came across each other is you joined the LMF mentoring program.
I did.
So talk us a little bit about how you found LMF, how you found the program, and now what you do with LMF, because that's a journey in itself.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you, but I did kind of tell you. Basically, I just saw you on a podcast, and then I was like, I'm going to work with this person. And that was it. And it was just like,
I don't even think I know that story.
I was like, how am I going to get to her? So, I saw that the mentoring, well, at the time it was more the mentoring program alongside the social mobility pillar that we had. I kind of went on for both. And then I didn't even work with you directly at the start, but the mentoring program was amazing for me because firstly, I didn't think having a mentor was something you could get easily, or like I had the right to ask for, if that makes sense, because I was so young in my career, and even though I was fumbling my way through, I was very aware that I was fumbling my way through, and I felt like, you know, the imposter side of things. I was like, I don't feel like that I'm deserving of it. So getting access to someone who specifically was in operations, and I was building up my experience in that, and could give me insights into that role, but also she helped me so much with like retraining my mindset, because I was going through that crisis at the time, was like, okay, well, I'm leaving this business where the values didn't align. And that was something that I just needed to like give myself a second to understand. And then also having like the workshops and looking into like imposter syndrome, which I felt it, but I didn't know what the name was. And of course, the name's been put onto something that has been around for so long. But having the understanding of the different types of imposter syndrome and the which one I was, and building kind of the coping mechanisms or the ways forward, so that I could kind of get myself out of that hole, was amazing. So that learning those skills, also just like being part of a community, because this is 2021, right? So this was just. I can't remember if I joined just before we went into... Oh, no, we were already in lockdown. I don't know if we were in lockdown or not in lockdown, but it was one of those periods, right? So having a community of people and then seeing everyone else like, oh, yeah, no, we're not sure what we're doing either. We're just like getting by. I was like, okay, it's not just me. This is normal. This is okay. And I've got this far, so clearly I can get further than this. And I just need to figure out what further is, like what's my direction. So having that community and also building a plan of like and knowing that plan can be like for the next 30 days, it could be the next year, it could change anytime, and that's fine. Just like having a direction. And then also I was able to find my voice as well. So for example, me in early 2021, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I would say no, flat out no, and I would lose the opportunity.
I mean, it's taken me a couple of weeks to get you here. Yeah.
But that wasn't too bad.
No,
but
if
you asked me in 2021, I'd be like, I don't understand why you want me on here, like I have nothing to give. But now I know I do, and it's not in a boastful way. It's like everyone does, and that's the point. Like you should share and learn from each other. And so many things. But definitely confidence. Like you personally have got me through some, along with obviously like my wider support network, some really tough times like in the working world. And even more recently, like last Christmas time was like the one of the hurdles that I finally got over after so many years. And it's like, okay, now I'm really like ready to get back into working. So just so many things that I could never be able to thank you enough, and like the community enough for, really.
I'm super grateful, and it really warms my heart. And I think I've said this plentiful times, I've probably even said it in this podcast by now, but I didn't know what I was creating, because I wasn't creating anything for anyone else other than me. And it came from a loner place. It came from I feel not great about myself. And so what do I do to get out of my funk? And it's brilliant to see actually that the work that we're doing is helping people like yourselves and others, even if we don't shout about it and we don't, you know, like plaster our walls with testimonials. That's not my vibe. That's not my values. I feel like people will speak good about me behind my back. I don't need to just, you know, have tons and tons and tons of reviews in the forefront. I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me because I'm like, we want to educate, we want to inspire, we want to enable. You're already empowered. Like, women are empowered. Women don't need any more empowering.
Yeah.
They need money. If you really want to empower women, why don't you pay us? That'd be great. They need to not be ghosted. I think that'd be great too. But they need opportunity. They need doors to be opened for them. They need to be believed a lot of the time. Yeah. Right?
I still think, and we had this conversation literally like on the walk over, but like some of the hard things that about like, the corporate world or just the world in general, I wouldn't take them away for sure. I feel like I've become so much more resilient from it. But what being part of the community, the mentoring program, you know, being friends with you has given me is the understanding that like I'm so resilient. You can knock me as far down that cliff as you think that you can take me, and I'll get back up. Like, for me, it's actually taking the risk anyway, or putting myself out anyway, and knowing that I probably will fall, but that's fine.
You know, I'm a big believer of failure, but I love that. And one thing that I've seen you doing over the last few months that I just want to really briefly touch on is putting yourself out there for events and content and PR and videos. For me, that's really brave. Like, I know for years, as much as I love to talk and I can speak, I wouldn't record myself or I wouldn't make videos because I was like, what would people think and who's going to watch it? And oh my God, am I going to be created into a meme? Which, by the way, is one of my live streams. So I don't mind actually being a meme. And if I tell enough people, eventually someone will do it. That and saying, please mind the gap on the TFL Underground, 2 of my live streams. But anyways, I have weird dreams, right? But my point being is I found it really difficult. And this is the work that I was doing, the space that I was in. So it's only around May 2022 that I jumped on TikTok, that I started creating videos, that I started doing reels, and then I shied away from it until people gave me feedback and they were like, actually, we like the stuff you're doing and we like the fact it's like quirky and weird and real and like it's just put together, and that's the vibe, and that's how I wanted the podcast to be as well. Talk me through the first time that you decided that you were going to go into content, or you were going to document your travels, your events, your life. And what would you say to that person back then?
I don't think like it was like a point where I was like, I'm going to do, well, I guess there was. So like I was traveling around Asia, and as you probably expect, you meet a lot of other travelers. And at the time, a lot of them, and probably still are, content creators. They tapped into that market. So I was traveling with a lady who was doing that as like basically her full-time job. And there's me like, oh my God, this is the dream. Like, how do I do this? And to be fair, she did give me like a lot of insights. Actually, I met a few of them, to be fair, and they gave me lots of insights and stuff. But I held myself back. So at that point, I was posting on Instagram, yeah, I'm here, but it wasn't like really polished. And I don't mean polished and like perfect, but like there wasn't proper strategy behind it. I wasn't really understanding what that platform was for. I was just hoping that I was going to go viral and just like not willing to put the work in. So yeah, I came back and I got my job in e-commerce and stuff like that. And it was only like maybe last summer, I think, really, that I've probably taken it a bit more seriously. I've had a bit of a hard relationship with social media for many reasons, obviously during the pandemic and everything that was happening. My mental health went down in general, but obviously that didn't help. So now that I'm in a better frame of mind and stuff, I know that I can do that without it, like me worrying about, oh, but that person's doing this, or that person's got that many followers and things like that. I've spent time understanding what Instagram is, like what's the purpose of it, what's their game as well. That's another thing to understand. And I'm just like, well, within all that, yeah, you change the algorithm and make it harder for me to reach people. But at the end of the day, I'm doing these things, so I'm going to share them. And the people that come to me and say like, oh, amazing what you're doing, and there's like, I'm just doing it for that. Not like specifically to get that feedback, but that's a really heartwarming thing. So I do love that. And then also just to document my life, because at some point, and my memory is quite bad, so at some point I'm going to forget like my eat, pray, love moment. So I want that on my wall so I can go back to that. And especially like, yeah, to help other people. Like I come to London quite often the past year. So if I found like a lovely little hidden gem that other people can explore when they're in London, rather than going to the main tourist attractions, and I'd like to share those. But yeah, it wasn't like a real I'm going to be a content creator. I don't think I count myself. I know I've got content creator on my profile because that's like what you do to get more reach.
It's the buzzword to get reach, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just something you pick, but yeah, just to get the analytics.
But that's not you, that's not your identity.
No.
That's the point we're trying to make.
Yeah.
And so my final question to you is, if you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Stop caring what the people think. They're too busy thinking about themselves, just as you are. So there's no point sitting there going, oh, I shouldn't do that because they might say this and the other. They probably will say it, even if you polished it and did the most perfect thing. There's someone that's going to say something bad anyway. And the main thing is, their opinion doesn't add or take away your value. So it doesn't matter. And turning 30, which at the time when I was younger, I thought was really old. It's not old, 30's not old at all. You just like have, I can't say any swear words, but you don't care
You're
anymore.
liberated.
Yeah, you don't care anymore. There's no F's given. Like, just live your life, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, and you can enjoy it to the max, really. So yeah, don't care what people think.
Okay.
And also take risks. I think one of the main things that I've learned the past 5 years, I guess, is the scariest thing isn't taking the risk, it's standing still. And if someone hasn't already said that, that's my quote. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for being a part of LMF, the mentoring program, our ambassador. But also thank you for staying true to yourself. I've personally really enjoyed seeing your growth over the last few years, and I'm sure I'll see even more to come.
Yeah.
And I know that you teach me so much as well. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for everything, and obviously the community as well. It's a journey still going, but it's been a great ride so far.
You can learn more about the podcast, get involved and listen via our website, www.lmfnetwork.com. You can follow us across all socials at LMF Network. Remember to like, subscribe, share and tell a friend. Get involved and drop us your comments or questions so that we can make sure that it's really adding value to your lives.